Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, let's chat about what is happening in the stars above. And you can see I have with me today Tam Veilleux from the Energy Almanac, and it is our monthly AstroInklings broadcast where we get to talk about all of the fun stuff that is coming up for the next month, which we're already in. Somehow the month didn't quite work out right.
Well, 4 days. We're doing okay, Janet.
Yeah, we're doing okay. That's true. It is only May 4th, but because, sometimes I feel like I live so far into the future that isn't it June already?
Hey, I want to take a minute, Janet. I'm going to blow your mind right now.
Okay.
May the 4th be with you.
Oh, you won't blow my mind
Today,
because today's my granddaughter's birthday, and every year that is the thing we say to her, and she hates it.
well, today is the 5-year birthday of the Energy Almanac.
Oh, yay! Happy birthday, Energy Almanac.
It
That is
was
awesome.
it was 5 years ago today that the idea landed, and here we are 5 years later. I'm blown away.
And I think I talked to you not long after the birth of that idea
Oh
about it.
boy,
Is
yeah,
that
about
right?
3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, yeah.
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 So, wow, it's grown legs.
Yeah, it's grown legs for sure.
Yeah, and in that it's also maybe gaining some traction and some, longevity, something that
Absolutely.
people are looking forward to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the show this morning, Tam. We actually have probably a lot to talk about, and we so missed you last month. And so we're glad we're back on schedule and that life is smoothing out. Although I kind of feel like, in some respects, life is getting bumpier this month. What do you think?
I think life is gonna speed up, and as if we need it to be any faster, life is about to speed up for everybody. I'm so excited to talk about May, but yeah, it has been a bit of a bumpy ride. Life sure is getting in the way of life.
Right. And, it feels like I almost live lifetimes sometimes in one day. Like yesterday was an I want to use words that I don't want to use. So yesterday was an up and down kind of day where everything was sort of going with the flow. I was kind of excited for the day. I had my plan, what I was going to do. And then all of a sudden for Mother's Day, we all decided we wanted to go to the islands to visit my oldest son. And we couldn't get onto the ferries, the Washington State Ferry website. And all of a sudden, so much anger flowed through me. It looked like I was mad because I couldn't get the website on, but where my mind really went is to the ineptness that our systems
Oh,
and are showing us. Like, ho how did a virus that, yeah, okay, upended some people's lives and had a lot going on, end up blowing up the work world, blowing up corporations, blowing up states and infrastructure? It is so ridiculous.
yeah.
Like,
Wow, that's remarkable. Um,
yeah.
what did you attribute your sudden flare to? Anything in particular? Like, was there a planet triggering you, or it was just life triggering you?
I think it was just life. It was it was like frustration that
Yeah.
suddenly just landed. And then typically I can shift through those things pretty quickly and just let it go and go, okay, I'll just try this website a little bit later today. But it seemed like there was then a sort of path of destruction happening, in my mood, in what I was doing. And it was just one of those days. It was hard to pull myself back from that
Yeah.
brink, and I'm wondering how many people are feeling like that, and it could be, any number of things that start the trigger, but we have so much energy lining up, and all the planets are sort of packed together. It's almost hard to tease apart what it is that could be the trigger.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is hard to tease apart. I know that for me, like when I find myself stuck, like why am I in this rut of thinking this way? I'll always go back to my chart and find out like what transit's going on that's triggering something specific for me.
Yeah.
Yesterday was okay for me, Janet. So I don't know what yesterday was.
And then last night people were texting me. This is so funny because people will suddenly just text me and go, "What in the what is going on out there?" And weird things are going on in my house, weird things are happening to my friends, and a family, all these things were happening. So I know that when I start getting text messages from random friends or people out there in the world, that it isn't just me. That made me feel better that it wasn't just me. But
Wouldn't you think that the eclipse on the 30th would start to trigger people's in different ways? Like, and are you attributing any of it to that maybe?
well, that's such a great question because eclipses don't happen in a vacuum, right?
Right?
We knew on Saturday we were having this eclipse and that it was a highly energetic sort of eclipse. It was a solar eclipse, so possibilities were endless.
Yep.
But it doesn't end there, and it didn't start there
Right.
either. It started at least 2 weeks before, as we start to, feel the alignment coming. And
Mhm.
then we have that alignment, and then afterwards, then you've got
Right.
another couple of weeks. And then eclipses tend to come back with a periodicity of about 3 months. So, in about 3 months from now, we might hear an echo of Saturday's solar eclipse or feel one in our lives or
Mm.
experience something that was related back to that day. And then 6 months, right? So we have these like increments of time.
Mhm.
And no doubt we are already feeling the coming up of the lunar eclipse for the 16th. So you get out of one and you're not quite done with it before you already have the tug and pull of what that next one might be bringing. So it's
Sure.
not specific yet,
Yeah.
but it's certainly there
Yeah.
for the
Building.
feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
building for sure. I definitely am feeling it building. That April 30th eclipse was within 2 degrees of my own personal Taurus moon. So, I'm
Right.
feeling it.
And I think, anybody whose birthday was coming through the last week of April and into this first week of May, their year is going to be signaled by that eclipse.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a negative thing at all. I think there's, the solar eclipses are possibles, right? What's
Yes.
possible?
Yes.
And if there's lots of opportunities that might, come up to the surface during that period of time, it's what you do with that as time goes on that
Right.
makes the difference, right? So
Right.
there's that. The lunar eclipse is a completely different story because it's at the full moon.
Right.
This happens to be a lunar eclipse that is called a blood moon,
Yep.
right? Because it's going to be that reddish color.
Mhm.
And for those of you that live on the east coast of the USA, it's visible. The whole of the eclipse is visible to you. For those of us on the west coast, parts of it will be visible depending on where you live. And it's a super moon.
Right. A super
So it is one of the 3 moons of the year that comes within 90% of the closest approach the moon ever makes to the Earth. That gives it more power, more tidal influence.
Mhm.
And it is also one that happens in a very deep sign,
Yes.
Scorpio.
Oh, Sag.
Scorpio.
Sag. On the 16th? Then I have it wrong in my book. Are you serious?
It should be happening at 25 degrees of Scorpio.
Holy my I have to we have to write a whole new article for 2022. We have it in Sag.
Oh, no, 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 because the nodes are now
That's
in
right,
Taurus and
Taurus, Scorpio.
Scorpio. Yeah.
Oh my god, I never caught that last year. Okay, we're gonna rewrite that whole thing. I'm gonna write that whole article and send it to everybody. I have homework.
You have
That is
homework. Well, see the things that get revealed in the shadow of Mercury retrograde.
that's right.
And we don't have to let it blow up our lives. It's like, "Oh, okay."
Here's me. Rewrite moon article.
How did I
Wow.
not catch it in the editing part either? I mean, it's not even that's too funny.
No, you're not. This is not you. This is all me. Wow.
Oh, good. Good, it's not my fault.
Not at all. Not Janet. This is all Tam.
Yeah, but usually I catch things like that. You have me, sort of look at it, and I did not catch that. But hey, that's okay because 'cause we're here today to correct it, right? We can
Love it.
talk
I have
about
time. I'll just send it out to everybody that bought the almanac. That's pretty cool.
yeah, good. See, we have that
I'm
possibility.
human and I make mistakes. That's all.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, it's at 25 degrees Scorpio, 15 minutes. The sun, of course, in Taurus on the other side. and I have it down as 12:14 a.m. for those of you on the East Coast. That means for those of us on the West Coast, it actually happens on the 15th, not the 16th, because for us it'll be 9:14 p.m. And actually for Mountain Time and Central Time, it will also be on the 15th, not the 16th. So it's
That's
straddling time zones.
yeah.
Mm. So if we take a look at the month of May, let's start at the beginning since we've
Sure.
already, we're at the 4th. We haven't gone through too much of the month.
No.
What are you besides the lunar eclipse, because we're probably going to get to that in a minute. What is your other top aspects for the month of May?
Look, you have to know it's all about that Aries energy this month. I am, for one, super excited. I probably say this every month. I'm super excited about where Jupiter's going. Jupiter moving into Aries and that dynamic energy, that expansion of energy really, really enthuses me. Jupiter's going into Aries on May 11th. Venus is going into Aries, and later in the month, Mars into Aries. Like to me, that's a big stinking deal. And later, when Mars moves there, like that's going to be really fascinating to see what happens.
Right. And, just a day or two or three after Mars moves in there, Venus moves out of there and into Taurus. So we have a lot of inner dynamics changing this month. And that tends to be a little disturbing, I think, to people because you think everything's going one direction and you have to be prepared for a change in direction. And what's interesting to me, Venus moved into Aries on Monday.
Monday, yep.
So we are already sitting in that Venus and Aries energy.
Hmm.
But Venus and Aries, that puts her in Mars territory.
Hmm.
And I find that to be sort of a creative energy, but it's also, I think there's some frustration that can breed in that energy because we can sometimes be really willing and able to do something, but we either don't know what to do, or when we try to do things, it doesn't work out the way we think it should. And
Mm,
that's partly because the ruler of Aries, Mars, is
Mars.
in Pisces still.
Yes, that's
He's
right.
kind of in the slower, deeper water,
Yep.
so it can make for some, steamy frustration coming. I could see steam coming out my ears kind of in that.
Exactly. Yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. Don't stop me now. I don't want to be stopped. I want to keep going. So, we have that kind of thing happening in this first part of the month where, maybe it feels like taking two steps forward and then a step back, putting the
Oh,
foot on the gas and the brake at the same time, and you're power braking.
yeah.
Kind of weird stuff, but that doesn't last too much longer.
Mhm.
Next week, on the 10th, we have Mercury turning retrograde.
Yes, I highlighted that as well. That here we go with a Mercury retrograde. This is great. Now, with you being a Gemini, does this affect you a little more intimately?
I always seem to have issues with Mercury retrograde in the shadow more
Oh,
than during the retrograde because my own
oh,
Mercury was retrograde when I was born.
gotcha.
So it's the shadow before and the shadow after.
Yeah.
So and I can see already, some of the things going on in the shadow here that have been annoying. Like just before you and I came on, I'd already put my camera up and I was all ready to go. My picture was already in there, and suddenly the whole screen turned yellow. I'm like, "What is that? And how does that happen?" I'm looking going, "No, my internet's working. What is it?" Had to go back out and come in. So it's those little things that can get very annoying for me.
Yeah.
And then the retrograde tends to be fairly smooth. But
Wow.
as a Gemini, of course, it's my ruling planet. So it is going to be a little bit maybe more affective for the Geminis and maybe for the Virgos as well, because they are also ruled by Mercury.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, that while not specific to Virgo in this particular case, it is um, maybe helpful for the Virgos out there, or for wherever you have Virgo in your chart, where at least in the beginning, while Mercury is retrograding from 4 degrees Gemini backwards into Taurus, it might be a little wonky for them. But then as soon as it gets into Taurus again, now it's in a favorable elemental connection,
That's right.
earth to earth.
Earth.
So it could be very beneficial. So hold on there, guys.
White
Right.
knuckles.
And, for whatever planets that you have in Virgo or Gemini, they will definitely be impacted by Mercury's retrograde between, the first, week or so. In fact, I think it is, let's see, Mercury moves backward into Taurus on the 23rd of this month. So there's a couple of weeks there where the air signs are going to have the wonkiness, and then it goes back into the earth signs, and then they might have some of the weirdness. But all in all, and I don't know how you feel about this one, but the Mercury retrogrades that go from one sign backward to another, I think are offering us up possibilities because we have ideas and possibilities that come up with the transit of Mercury through Gemini, and then
Mhm.
it moves backward into Taurus where we have to do something about it.
Grounded in. Yeah. Yeah, I think can be an amazing opportunity if we use it. Knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is where it's at. That's my
Yes.
saying. You have to apply it and take the steps. But yeah, ground those ideas in.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things we might be looking at as we move forward, even through the month of May, where a lot of fire energy, erupting. And do we have the ability to take it and use it for its purposes, which is creation and maybe even, a bit of destruction of what has been in order to make room for what could be?
Mhm.
Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, so it's youthful. It's kind of
Yes.
immature. It's not,
Mhm.
it's kind
Mhm.
of impetuous, a little bit impatient.
Uh, Very impatient. A word I like around Aries is pioneering.
Yes, great word.
Pioneering. It can be very dynamic, but I mean also with the it's that impetuousness that makes the Aries personality sometimes difficult to witness. If you have an Aries, you definitely know what I'm talking about. If you have an Aries in your life, their impetuousness, their quickness. Um, I'm always saying to my dear Aries, please slow down, please slow down, please slow down. To your own benefit, please slow down. So it's
Yeah.
going to be interesting. I do love the ramping up of energy that we're having with Aries and the building of energy. As a person who has a lot of fire signs, that energy suits my personality. It's almost like an excuse to be me. Um, but for some people, if you're not careful, that impetuousness and that borderline aggression can be really hard for the people around you. So you want to, soften, slow down a little bit,
Yep.
take a breath.
Yep. But don't be afraid either. I mean,
Right.
we have to be courageous enough to move forward,
Courage.
with our ideas or
Mhm.
with the next step in our evolution. We can't just stop. And I think Aries energy comes along to remind us, to give us that little bit of a push.
Nudge.
Yeah. And depending on, how your chart is set up, you might feel that nudge in a very positive and powerful way, like finally all the stop signs have, or all the red lights have turned green. But others may, miss the sign that they were meant to move forward carefully, and they just go all out. So,
Mm,
and other people can just totally get burned by not taking action, and that I think
absolutely.
is almost worse.
Letting the fear stop them, and that certainly I think that Aries, there's a thread of fear in them all the time. They're working on courage, like their thing is to develop courage.
Hmm.
It's not like it's innate in them. So,
Yeah, you're right. It is the action piece is there for
yeah,
them, always taking
yes,
action. The courage, though, to hold steady instead
right.
of making changes,
Mhm.
the courage to make that next step, even if it's like, I always think of the Fool card in the tarot deck,
Me
right?
too,
Where
me
he's
too, yes.
he's so close to the edge and he's going to take that next step and he doesn't know. It's like unknown, the
Yeah,
unknown quantity or quality of what comes next. And we're all stepping into that unknown with a planet like Jupiter that magnifies and amplifies energy
mhm,
and has such a magnetic quality that whatever it is that we're focusing our energy on tends to come to us in a very powerful way. And
absolutely.
there's just, a little bit of scariness to this move because, The last time that Jupiter moved into Aries, it was in the haze of the tsunami in Japan in 2011,
Oh, wow.
right? Where Jupiter was in the last degrees of Pisces.
Yeah,
And there was the earthquake with the tsunami,
sure.
and then as Jupiter moved into Aries, it was the fire in the nuclear plant, the power plant,
Yep.
and that is a little bit scary sitting here with a nuclear power in a, you know, war with a smaller country and the ramifications that all of that may have on the rest of the world should nuclear enter
That's
the discussion.
interesting, and I would also say, like, it brought to mind exactly what's going on in politics in the United States with the whole, Supreme Court and what's going on and how
Mhm.
people are gearing up for a battle, and that's very much Aries energy.
Right? It's Martian. It's
Oh,
warrior.
it's that's exactly perfect timing for that kind of thing. I am a
Yeah.
little nervous around the Jupiter and Aries. It's like it's like exciting, it's big movement, but it also, like you're talking about, the aggression part of it, the God of war. Holy moly, let's
Yeah.
we gotta mind ourselves.
Yeah, the god of war who's also going into battle, right?
Yes.
Going into battle, battle lines drawn, the
Hmm.
military comes to mind, Pluto having just turned retrograde. Are we going backwards to behaviors that are, kind of a power struggle between nations? So many things that we could think of, but I want to tell everybody, and I know you're going to be with me on this, is that has a lot to do with what it is that we individually are going to focus on.
Absolutely.
Right. I try to listen with only a half an ear to what's going on out there in the world, insofar as it helps me to dial in the astrology of the time that we're in. But I also don't want to focus there. I
Right.
want to focus on what's exciting, what's possible, where we can go, how we could get there.
Yeah.
Um, so it's always going to be that tug of war, I think, that we have between the world and what we see, or what mm, dynamic might be, raising its ugly head, versus me personally, and what am I doing to contribute to the peace of the planet or to the war of the planet.
Hmm.
So we can take that creative energy. It's creation and destruction.
Mm,
It reminds me of Kali, the the Hindu goddess of destruction, where it can be used for good,
mhm,
to build something new or to create, or it can be used to destroy
mm.
and make, crash things down. Our choice.
I'm with you 100%. I always say good input equals good output. When you said, listening with half your ears, yeah, like you don't want to be an ostrich and put your head in the sand and not know what's going on, and don't stay there. Don't stay staring at your phone or your TV and getting sucked in. Look to answers. Be creative in what can I do that would create a better outcome for the planet. And sometimes it's as simple as not commenting on a thread online. Sometimes that's your contribution. Um,
Yeah, don't add to the
and that's
flames or the fire. Yep,
yeah,
exactly.
don't throw gas on the flames,
Yep,
especially
that's a good
today.
one.
That's very Aries, right?
Yeah, I think because, Aries, throws caution to the wind.
Yes.
And we actually have an extended period of time now where Jupiter will be in Aries from May 10th, no, 11th through October 28th.
Mhm.
And then he will be in retrograde for part of that time as he enters retrograde in June, I believe it is. And the retrograde is slower for whatever reason. In this case, he doesn't get because he gets to 8 degrees of Aries before he turns retrograde, then he's moving backwards. He'll get to about 28 degrees of Pisces, and that's like where he is today
Right.
and for the next couple of days. So kind of taking a look now at, what things are popping up in your world, what opportunities are there, what
Mhm.
things that have been stuck might be getting ready to open up and move.
Mhm.
Because in the next few days, then as Jupiter moves into Aries, it switches up the energy, and it doesn't happen like this. The earthquake, the tsunami, the Fukushima, all of that is so Jupiter moving out of the deep water and into fire,
Yes, totally.
right? That unexpected quality about it, the, you know, breaking free kind of energy. So it can feel like that to us as well,
Mhm,
as individuals. So and then when we get to January, Jupiter will then again be back into Aries
mhm.
for a chunk of
Right,
2023.
part of
So
it, yeah.
yeah, so we get sort of these gifts of foresight
Mhm,
with the things that are happening today in, in this lead up to Aries energy with Jupiter,
mhm,
and then during Jupiter's time in Aries, and even in the retrograde we get to dial in maybe a little closer to what it is that's true for us or what we really desire, and then next year take and fly, fly with it, but just don't fly too close to the sun, right? Was it Prometheus or Icarus? One of them, Icarus, flew too close to the
yeah,
sun and his wings
Icarus, yeah,
melted.
yeah. I wanna take a minute to talk to all the people who are watching us to as a transformational coach, like, I can't encourage you enough to block time to do retrograde work. No
Mhm.
matter which retrograde it is, a Mercury, a Jupiter retrograde, Pluto retrograde right now, like, block time in your calendar so that you actually can think through. Thinking at like, getting insight requires solitude and silence, and if you're not doing that, you're gonna fly through life and be very unconscious. So I'm
Yes.
just encouraging you, there's some strategy to having magic in your life, and part of it includes doing the retrograde work. I also, Janet, want to let you know there's a couple questions in the chat. I don't know if you
Yeah,
want to.
I just saw one from Erica there.
Cool.
And so her question, are there any resources available to explain the difference between my natal chart positions and how they interact with each planet versus the transiting positions? And, that's kind of a tricky question, Erica, because there are so many things out there,
Mm,
right? There are whole books. I have my old trusty one that gosh, I just realized I haven't really looked at this book lately, but you can tell I've had it for a while because I've had to duct tape the cover, and it is Planets in Transit by Robert Hand, and it goes through every transit basically between every planet. And then you have other books out there about the houses that it might be in, uh, the way that a transiting planet typically affects your natal planet is it acts like a trigger to
mm,
something coming up. So if you have, for example, let's see, I have right now Uranus on top of Venus, and that is triggering things in my 11th house. So that happens to be where it is in my. So you're looking at several different things through different lenses. How is
mhm.
this affecting me? But the best thing to do, especially if you're a novice in astrology, is get a reading from someone who knows.
Which would be Janet.
I'm actually slowly eliminating astrology readings from my repertoire,
Oh,
but
wow.
because I just don't have the time, I want to do more Akashic Records readings. I'm like on this bandwagon right now to help everybody align to their soul's purpose for being here,
Hey.
and so I had to eliminate something. Now, part of that is a reading that is astro design, taking astrology and human design, putting them together, but I'm not doing a lot of transit readings and things like that for the time being. But ASA is taking over that for me. So if you need to have a reading, though, don't hesitate, reach out, get that done because it's important to know. But also, coming on to shows like this, Tam is always talking about transits. Get the Energy Almanac. It gives you the heads up about what's happening, right? The 2022, I'm assuming, is still available if you haven't gotten it yet.
You can't believe
And
how many we've sold in April. In April, it was crazy. Yeah, get your book.
isn't it funny because people are probably feeling all this stuff
I
coming
think
up,
so. I really
and
do.
yeah, and they're looking for the sources of help out there. Um, Erica says, I'm having difficulty understanding how the transiting planetary interactions are congruent or incongruent with my natal chart planetary interactions. Yeah, and that takes time and skill, I think, Erica. If you understand what the relationships are with planets. So the words that connect them. So sun conjunct moon, right? The conjunction telling you both of these planets are in the same space and they are joining forces, if you will. And so then you can think about, well, what does the sun represent? What does the moon represent? And you bring those two together. And oh, okay, it represents a new beginning, a merging of my inner and my outer self. And then you can take and place that in a house. Let's say that's happening in the first house, and
Mhm.
the first house represents the self, right? Your own viewpoint. And so what we have is a new beginning, a new coming together of your inner and outer self in the house of the self, a new you, right? Birthing something new for you. So that's how we would look at that. And then if you put another word in there, let's use the word square, because that's usually one that we're we're watching for sometimes, the squares. Where are the challenges going to be? The sun squaring the moon could be a challenge of being able to change what I'm doing, my behaviors that are blocking me, or my thought processes, what's blocking me. And the two houses that they're in are going to show you possibly how to work through those areas of your life. Let's say, it's in the 11th house and the second house, right? 11 to 12, 1, 2. Yep, it's going to be one of those places where you're going to have to look at what are my relationships doing with money or with earning power or things like that. So, it takes time to build that though,
A
and
lot
that's
of
the
time.
thing. Yeah. And I probably agree with Tam. A lot of that starts with knowing yourself first. You
Yes.
have to know, what does all this mean for me?
Mhm.
Then once I know me and something else is coming across me, parts of me, then I can choose how I'm going to respond to whatever that energy is triggering for me. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Beautifully said. I would encourage, who was it? Erica, like,
Erica.
yeah, get those readings and keep getting the readings. I say that to all the newbies who come, like, go get a reading and understand yourself thoroughly. And that will really help your knowledge about astrology.
Yeah. And bring your questions. The third Friday of every month, we do Astro Design question and answer, like a meetup group. So that means, let's see, oh my God, I haven't turned my calendar yet. May 20th. I'm holding on to April for some reason. So May 20th, we do a meetup. It's free. And you bring your chart and your questions to the group and we talk it through. So I'll be posting that up in the next week or so for everybody there. It's a Zoom call. And if you come to that with your chart and your question specifically, we could work through that and help you. So, okay. What other comments, questions did you see out there, Tam?
I'm looking at Nico. That's she just posted it. I'm curious as to what we should do during that time to help us grow. I'm not sure exactly which time. Is she talking about during the retrograde?
Let's see. I'm scrolling back to see
The
if
very
I,
bottom. No, she's the newest question.
yeah, I'm just looking back to see if
Oh,
there was some comment she was making, and I don't know. So, Nico, maybe you could uh, kind of give us more
clarify.
info about what your question is. But,
Yes.
curious as to what we should do during that time. I'm thinking maybe she's talking about Jupiter's transit through Aries, because that's what
I
we were
was thinking
talking
about
about.
retrogrades. I don't know. This
Okay,
is-
Nico, tell us
you
tell
tell
us what
us.
you need. Yeah, and then we can work through that. Uh,
Retrograde work. She just posted.
okay, good. You want to take that one since you had the
Um,
greatest comment about
yeah,
that?
so doing your work, Nico, in my world means literally sitting in the silence and asking the questions relative to the planet and zodiac that's in retrograde. Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. You're looking at transformation. You're looking, well, transformation for sure, power or disempowerment. You're looking at the areas of discipline, boundaries, business, self authority. Like, so you're going to ask yourself those questions. How have I been doing in that area? What am I noticing that is transforming in those areas? That's doing the work, using your journal, making notes, identifying the topic at hand, and your emotional reaction to it and your strategic reaction to it. So using both the higher and the lower mind to find answers, because there's information there that can advance your world. instead of going through it unconsciously. Am I making sense?
Yes, you make perfect sense. Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think one little piece that you need to know when you sit down to do that is, what is the area of my life where this is impacting me the most?
Yes.
And that would be like wherever Pluto is turning retrograde. So in let's say this chart is a person, Pluto. So this is a chart of the day of the this is a chart of the moon, uh, the full moon, and it looks like Pluto for this person, if it were a person, would be in the eighth house, which would be a house of death and rebirth, and attracting support from outside of you. So bringing in a spouse's income or investment income and things like that, or dealing with, maybe reducing debt, or your reliance on credit cards, right? All of these things, if you were, experiencing some money challenges, and Pluto's in your eighth house, transiting right now retrograde, it's giving you that breathing room to maybe experience, how could I be more powerful in the way that I am financially?
Hmm.
Right. How could I maybe pay down some debt that might free up some more money to spend over here, or whatever it is that's, you need to do in your life. So knowing the house that these places that where these retrogrades are taking place is huge, because it tells you the area of your life that is being kind of looked at through the magnifying lens.
Mm.
Hopefully that's helpful for everybody. I love the idea of journaling through all of this,
Hmm.
and rolling with, and trust me when I say it isn't over just one day, right? The retrograde of Pluto's 5.5 months.
Exactly. In the 2023 Energy Almanac, I got a little smarter, Janet. I mentioned often, like if we're doing a Pluto retrograde, I said, go block 3 different times over the next 6 months to journal on this topic, really directing people and helping people to understand how to apply the astrology, not just kind of know it and la la la, like, but to apply the astrology to your life, because that's really what's going to make the difference.
Yeah, that's a great idea, especially for the outer planets that do spend more time in that retrograde phase. And those planets that spend longer in retrograde are ones that we're more we don't tune into as easily.
Right.
We don't notice as much, change with those, because it's more change over time.
Mhm.
But when those inner planets do that dance, that's a different story, because now it's personal, and
Right.
it's a shorter period of time that we have to work through what's happening. But remember, a retrograde itself isn't just the retrograde, it's the time before, it's the time during, and then it's the shadow, the retro shade
Right.
afterwards. So we have this entire cycle of time where we can really slow down things related to that planet, related to that house in our chart, and get a bird's eye view, maybe stepping back and becoming a little less attached to what's happening, so that you can see in and get a read on, well, what is this showing me? What steps come next?
Mhm.
And often, having that kind of journaling conversation with yourself is priceless, because things come out there that might not come out any other way.
Right.
Yeah,
How many retrogrades are happening now? Nico wants to know.
just one, Pluto.
Until
Till
another
next
week.
week,
Yeah.
until Tuesday of the 10th, when Mercury moves retrograde, and then we'll have two. And let's see, no other retrogrades coming up this month. But you know darn well that next will be Saturn, and then Jupiter, and later in the summer it'll be Uranus. And then, we get to October and everybody starts moving back to the forward motion. And we have a Mars retrograde this year too. So get prepared for all
Right.
the
Yeah.
action
Yes,
to
we
slow
do.
down.
Yep. Yep. That's right.
Yep, that won't be until the fall, so we don't have to worry about it right now. But interesting, because there's a relationship now. If you're looking ahead, you're looking down the road
Right.
to, okay, what might be taking place for me for the rest of this year? Right now, we're going to have, Mars being highlighted by Venus being in Aries, Jupiter being in Aries, and then Mars following into Aries, right?
Mhm.
So Aries and Gemini, where Mercury will retrograde, have a really good relationship. So the work that we do now, this is just
Okay.
me, my astro thinking. This
Yes.
is my like putting on my astrology hat and looking down to the future. That a lot of the things that we do now are going to impact us later in the year, right? So be
Interesting.
be aware. What are you setting yourself up for?
Mm.
Right? Taking the long view, we're going to see that, Aries is action and moving forward, and then it is in a sextile energy, which is just to say they work well together. Aries and Gemini energy works well together. So it's possibilities and action,
Mhm.
following your curiosity, being open minded, taking action where appropriate, and then being willing when Mercury does slow down in Gemini and then eventually retrogrades in Gemini this year, that you are okay with going back inward to the planning again and reworking, retooling, rekeying,
Mhm.
whatever it is that you need to do. So just be don't don't launch things, don't start new things and expect that it's just going to have that blush of newness for the rest of the year, because it isn't.
Mhm.
It's going to need some evaluation time later in the year. It's
Mhm.
always nice to know ahead of time.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, so what else, Tam? What else are we excited about?
Hold on. Gee whiz.
Hold the phone. We have so much.
Yeah, hold the phone. Um, okay. So I'm super interested about May 29th when Mars conjuncts Jupiter in Aries.
Now
That
we have the warrior and we have the great sky god Jupiter, and they come together, and lightning and thunder and
I think it's just because geopolitically right now there's so much going on. When I was reading about May, I'm like, wow, like that's a really interesting moment in time for sure.
yeah.
That and the new moon in Gemini coming up, right behind it over Memorial Day weekend. Those are what I highlighted for this month.
Yeah. So much is out of our control,
Yeah. Oh,
right? So
totally.
much.
Yeah.
And, we don't know what the geopolitical bull, what is going to do. We
No.
just don't. All we can really do is stay focused on what our truths are,
Hmm.
and to, as best as we can, embrace everyone and everything that is happening, right? That we may not like that, war breaks out, or that, the Supreme Court changes laws, or whatever it is that's going
Hmm.
on. We may not like it, and that's not our job to like it or dislike it, but to be proactive in moving forth in your own life and staying true to you, and
Hmm.
whatever that means for you. Like, I really want to get upset about Roe v. Wade.
Hmm.
That's just my political little hot button right now, because I feel like that is a step that the patriarchy would like to take to bring women backwards, right? But on the other hand, I'm not a woman of childbearing age. It's
Hmm.
not going to affect me personally.
Hmm.
And there are so many better ways to take care of a pregnancy than to do an abortion. So I'm going, okay, I don't want to spend my energy getting all hot and bothered about this, because it doesn't really impact my life. What I'm going to focus on is, how do I keep empowering the divine feminine? How do I
Hmm.
keep moving forward and empowering women to make their choices and live their truths?
Hmm.
That's what I can focus on.
Hmm.
The other stuff is so out of my ability to do anything about,
To
except
affect.
to maybe demonstrate, or but again, I'm 60 years old. I'm not going to have a baby or get pregnant anytime soon. So likely it's not impacting me. But I do want, women to have those kind of choices
Mhm.
for them. Not necessarily pro or con, but I'm just saying, right? We can either go the path of creating, more havoc, or we can go down the path of, well, how do we empower ourselves to make good decisions going forth?
I think it's about showing up as the neutral observer.
Oh, good one. I like that. I like the way you said that. Neutral observer.
Yeah, I mean, really, we are to observe and respond responsibly.
Response able, right?
Right,
Response able.
right. Um, Reactionary is a very Aries energy. And so, whatever's going to happen on or around May 29th, plus or minus, we have to respond carefully. We have to be the neutral observer and enjoy the show, if you will. I'll say it like that. You know, our our prayers, our intentions toward peace will bring peace, or a better outcome at the very least. But you asked me what I was interested in, and that's what I said. May 29th.
Yeah. Well, and if you look at it, just like look at what the planet brings. So Mars brings with it warrior energy, the will to move forward with something, to not stay stuck in the past or to
Right.
not stay in a state of disrepair. Let's say it wants to move, and Jupiter wants to grow and expand.
Hmm.
So are we looking at a more expansive we're looking at more expansive energy that also has action attached to it.
Hmm.
So wherever these two come together in your own chart, there is the potential for this explosion of, and maybe that's a bad word, but profusion of activity to take place.
Profusion of
So
activity.
yeah, Aries. So wherever Aries is, Aries happens to be, those degrees of Aries happen to be in my ninth house of growth and expansion.
Mm,
Right? Or if I do it in whole sign, it's going to be in my 10th house of career and my worldly self, right? How people are going to see me. Let's see, knowing your chart, you have a Libra rising?
Sag.
Sag rising. So for you, where's this going to take place? Aries is going to be
I think it's third house.
third house of
No,
communication.
that's not right. Is it third
No, it
house?
can't be.
No, it can't be.
Nope. Sagittarius across from it is Gemini in the seventh. And then we're going to go, yeah, it's going to be maybe like the fifth house,
Yes.
creative
There we
explosion.
go. That's what it is. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, a creative
Yep.
profusion of creative energy or of fun energy or of celebration of some sort.
Oh, woe is.
Um, yeah, the only thing when we have Mars involved with Jupiter, remember Jupiter magnifies and amplifies. So whatever energy you bring to the table is what's going to get growth attached to it. It's going to amplify that energy. So if we're bringing anger to the table and frustration, which, there's likely some people out there that will have that, then Jupiter coming together with Mars is going to amplify that. But if you have creative energy that you want to bring in, that there's no better aspect than that happening. But you have to remember Mars's tendency is to be explosive, to
Yeah,
be burning in some way.
I
So we want to
agree.
be careful behind the wheel.
Mhm.
We want to be careful handling knives and anything sharp or any kind of big equipment. Stay in your body, stay focused, and you try not to buy into the cacophony of angry voices out there in the world.
Well, luckily the Sag takes over in my life in that fun nature, the more gregarious spirit. And when I talk about Mars, I like to say every front has a back. So the front is aggression, but the back is passion. And if I can channel the passion, then
Passion fueled action, right?
passion fueled action is the way I like to think of it.
Yeah. Yeah, this month is a little worrisome. That's all I can say.
I
In
can agree with
terms
that.
of,
I
there's
agree with
just,
that.
but again, I can't let that niggling worry, affect what I'm doing.
Mhm.
So while again, like that's what I'm saying, a half an ear out to what's going on in the world, but my focus is on how am I going to help empower people to live their most authentic lives. That's my focus. That's
I
where I'm
have
going.
I have a question for you that I think a lot of people who are watching are going to find an interesting answer to. Many of us born in the 60s have a Chiron in Aries. What will happen? What is some potentials for us? Chiron and Aries.
So when we look at Aries in general, right, just that sign, right, it's a very independent natured energy. So Aries, they like to do it themselves, right? They like to stand on their own. They don't like to be told what to do. There's a little bit of a militant sort of, I can do it, leave me alone, I can do it myself. On the other end, there's the wound in Aries, which is codependency. I
Mhm.
can't do it. I'm giving away my power,
Right.
right? I just can't do it and giving up on myself or what have you. And so we have these two bookends, right? Uber independence and codependence. And the healing path through this is interdependence, where
Mm,
we see that, I may have this militant attitude about the environment, let's say, and then there are the people that could give one whit about the environment and are just throwing their trash out the window as they drive along. But we have to be able to move to the middle, the interdependence, right? We are each dependent on our mother nature, as well as each other to do the right things in support of the environment. So we have to be able to understand that we're not alone and that we're not going it alone,
mm,
that we can come into the middle. So the wound here has a lot to do with the self
mm.
for the people who were born with an Aries Chiron, and how well you're able to get done what you want to get done. How strong are you in standing forth with courage and bravery to live your own truth? But on the other side, there's that percentage of the healing that goes on where we've become too codependent or too independent, right? Where we don't let anybody help us versus where everybody has to help us because we can't do it ourselves.
Do you expect, I know, I'm laughing about my Aries, my person. Um, are you expecting, like with Jupiter being in Aries, like will this amplify this healing process? How might that affect?
Well, Jupiter isn't going to make it as far as Chiron because
Okay.
he only
Okay.
gets to 8 degrees. Now, that's still within a little bit of an orb, so it might stimulate some of that for those people who have Chiron in the mid degrees of Aries. But it'll be next year where we're going to have to face that,
Okay.
head on. And for everybody, we all have Chiron transiting through Aries. Even if your own natal Chiron isn't in Aries, we're
Yes.
dealing with this in our own lives. Like, how do I stand out in the crowd? How do I take responsibility for myself, for my viewpoints, for what I'm creating? So we all are dealing with that. But Jupiter won't make it that far, but Mars will.
Okay. Yeah.
Venus will.
Okay.
So the and eventually Mercury will make it that way. I think Mercury will take longer to get there, but certainly um no, Mercury's already beyond there, so we don't have to worry about him. But the other inner planets, Mercury or Mars and Venus, definitely are going to be dredging up some stuff personally for us.
Mm,
And then Jupiter, we're just kind of lucky that he doesn't get that far. We have a little more time to do the healing work within us.
okay.
Yeah. Um Erica, hey, my Mars is in Capricorn, and I feel like I'm so slow in my movements. I look forward to this retrograde.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, Mars in Capricorn, though, is empowered, right? Mars here meets up with the energy of Pluto, and Pluto, right now, anyway, in Capricorn, might be time for you to take your power. Take your power back from places where you've, not gained it yet, or where you feel like you've lost it to somebody or to something, and come back and stand on your own 2 feet. Mars can be empowered here. It's Earth sign. Mars kind of lines up and moves, more deliberately through Capricorn energy. So be deliberate. I think that's a gift you might have there, Erica, being deliberate.
Mm.
Let's go back to that lunar eclipse for a moment before I can't believe it, but it's, we only have like 7 minutes left here.
So time
Um,
flies when you're having fun.
yeah, eclipses are game changers, right? They jack up whatever the energy is that's already there. So on Saturday when we had a new moon, the potential for something expressing something new was kind of jacked up, and our intentions were going to be very powerful during that period of time. With the full moon now, we have the moon in an opposition to the sun. And that's a different dynamic where we have perhaps some revelation energy that comes into play,
Mm,
where something dawns on us, oh my gosh, right? Or we see something we didn't see before. Or on the other end of the spectrum, sometimes it's a closing of a door, the ending of something that, we've maybe hesitated and now its time is over. So we have some really cool energy in the in the idea of the full moon, but it's an eclipse, and the eclipses are driven by where are the nodes, right?
Mhm.
Where are the north and the south nodes? Now, that eclipse happens to be a south node moon with a north node sun.
Mhm.
So the potential is in order for us to move forward, right, to be able to move forward, what do we have to let go of? And
Right.
that is the highest potential of the full moon, by the way.
Right.
Having set intentions with the new moon, now I'm coming face to face. Well, what is constraining me?
Yeah, what's in
What
the
is
way?
holding me?
Yeah, what's in the way?
What's in the way?
Mhm.
And and it could be anything from a belief to a grievance to an unforgiving sort of place in you to a
Mhm.
person, a relationship, a job, on and on and on. But a lot of light comes to that and a lot of power then with the eclipse to let go of whatever's standing in the way.
Mhm.
So that is where we get disconcerted because we like to be in our comfort zones. Taurus and Scorpio are fixed signs. They love their comfort zones.
Mhm.
So we might have to be squaring in our own, beings, the things that we have to let go of so that we can move forward. The sun is conjunct the north node. That's destiny pulling us to a future, pulling us to live our life path, to simplify,
Mhm.
right? Not Taurus is a more simple yet beautiful artistic
Mhm.
expression of life, right? That it doesn't have to be this complex, building. It is the straight lines, that the simplicity, the sensuality, that's where we want to go. So if that can translate to us as humans, to what do we feel about something, right? The other side, the Scorpio moon might be triggering, what is our passion? Are we living from our passion?
Hmm. So I'm looking at things like aren't correct me, please. Aren't we going to be looking at things like what has been, how have I used joint money? Have I done well? What about where is debt in my way? Where have I been keeping secrets? What are my motivations? Have they been clean and clear toward my goal? Am I correct? What about transformation?
Right, in the bigger picture, right, the Taurus Scorpio axis does bring up energies around money or the banking system, the economy,
Right.
which then is about debt and credit and the stock market and all of that. But in our unless that's in your own personal second and eighth house,
Mhm.
it's likely not going to be the biggest impact. But
Okay.
all of us are impacted by the economy.
Yeah.
Right? Almost had a heart attack the other day when I realized that the cheapest gas station in town, the gas was almost $5 a gallon. I was like, "Oh my god, it never in my life."
Mhm.
Right? So, we have these things that are going to impact us. Certainly, I just don't drive as much. I have a bicycle. I'm going to take my bicycle then.
Yeah.
So we are impacted by it, but wherever that opposition is occurring in your own personal chart
Mhm.
is where you want to really pay attention.
Yep.
And let's just say, like this chart, if this chart of the eclipse was a person, it's happening across the 11th and the fifth house.
Mhm.
So if this were a person, it would have to be aligning with what it is they really love, what do they really want to create, and then establishing community and their steps that they would take next around what is it going to take for me to accomplish that dream or to move in the direction of that vision. And yea, though there's financial impact going on, that may slow things down a bit right now because I don't have as much disposable income, perhaps. It doesn't stop me from laying the plan or doing what I need to do or releasing myself from, because, wait, the world does run on money, but the universe knows how to bring us things that lie totally
Without that.
outside of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, that's true in the bigger picture, but for us as individuals, it's going to be not necessarily across that money house.
Yeah, it's gonna be on the axis of wherever Taurus and Scorpio are in your
Yeah.
natal chart.
Yeah, in your natal chart. And you've already been, introduced to this energy because the nodes moved in there in January and we've been contending with this difference, this changing idea of who we are and what we're doing. In our human design chart, I think it's really blatant. in that the gates that the south and the north node lie across are gates that remind us to live, that every one of us are geniuses, that we are all genius. And genius isn't just about our mental ability to do math or engage in scientific thinking. Our genius is, what is our specific gift that we have, that no one else can do the way that we can do it. And then the North Node is taking us to, now, how do I manifest it? Because the 23 is on the throat center, the center of manifestation.
Mm.
How do I bring it to life? That's even more powerful, I think, if you look at it through human design that way.
And you speak it into life.
We speak it into life, we intend it, right? And then our thoughts and our emotions and our actions all come into play. So are we walking our talk, or are we talking our walk?
Mhm.
Or you know what I mean?
For all the people who ask me, "How do I write a book?" I say, "You tell somebody you're writing a book. That's the first step. Then you go.
Because then they're gonna nag at you. "Did you write your book yet?"
You
Oh,
speak
that's
it
funny.
into being. It's part of it."
Erica says, I only have Aries as my rising." Only? Oh my
Only,
gosh,
only.
only? Right? And then the ruler of Aries, Mars, you have in Capricorn. So you have some very powerful business sense, I would guess. Maybe even innovative and inventive business sense, that maybe you see things that other people don't see in how to run a business, a uniqueness to it. So that's an interesting combination that you have. Kathleen says, "Love, love, love." She loves our conversation. I like that too. Christine Buckingham, "Sounds great. Natal Mars, Capricorn too, Erica." So that's awesome, right? It's business, it's getting clarity. I have a grandson who is a Capricorn, and he's going to be in 11th grade next year. So it's time to start making decisions for his future. And
Right.
he's really having to start knuckling down. And I feel like maybe Capricorn in our charts does help us get to that. um, if I'm gonna if I have a goal and I want to get there, then I need to have the action steps that are going to take me there.
Yeah.
I can't just say, okay, I'm going to head to the hills and teach XYZ, and then just sit back and wait and see what happens. You have to keep aligning with the action steps. So I think you guys that have your Mars and Capricorn, aligning with the goals and taking the steps. And Aries on the rise, your personality is Martian,
Mhm.
is spiritually a warrior, actively a warrior, a priestess warrior kind of person. um, all right. Anything else that you want to say in closing today? What are you up to? Any new classes, courses, or things going on in your world?
Please, can I take 2 seconds? Watch.
Yes.
Here
What
I
do we
am.
want?
Look, you guys, I'm back. I'm making art for the Energy Almanac.
Oh my goodness, that's beautiful.
Where's the camera? Holy moly. This
Okay,
way?
yep, there we go. Now I can see this picture that looks like what is that?
Meditation.
Oh, okay, now I see it. Sitting in front of the moon. I love it. Or sitting in front of the earth.
Yep. Moon. But yeah, I'm working on the art for the 2023 Energy Almanac, and I'm having a blast. Creativity, holy moly. I can't even sleep at night. I'm painting all night long in my head.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, that's awesome. Yeah,
Um,
because all the writing is done for the 2023. Now it's all
Editor
in
has the
editing.
book. So yeah, things are in a really, really cool place. I'm launching a new product probably early next week. So yeah, things are fun and fabulous, and it's good to be back in the saddle.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, that is it for Tam and I this morning. If you have any questions, you can certainly email them to either one of us, or text message us. People are really good at texting me, messengering me. So that's it for me. Thank you so much, Tam, for joining me. It was good to see you and to have your voice added to mine. I will see you all on Friday morning here, 8 o'clock a.m. I will also be on Angel Heart Radio this evening, my time, 5 p.m. East Coast time. That's 8 p.m. All you have to do is go to Angel Heart Radio on Facebook. It broadcasts live right there. All right, guys, much love. Take care.
Bye.
Bye for now.